Hello and welcome to Broad Topics number 3, our September edition. My name is Colleen.
My name is Amanda.
And there's a drone outside of my apartment.
That's terrifying. Is it like looking in your window, or is it?
It's like at the. Yeah, sorry to ruin the intro, but I'm a little bit concerned about that.
All right. Anyway, that's Shandy. I don't know, guys. A month ago, I said can't wait. A little bit scared to see what we're going to be talking about next month. So,
yep.
Anything really big and terrible happened recently? How's it going, everybody? I guess I should. We are joined live on Zoom by Ro, Judy, Allison, Matt, Brian, Piper, and Maggie. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yay, thanks for playing.
Yay. Great group.
You want to just get into it? So everything, the world turned upside down again on Friday night when the honorable, magical, wonderful
fairy godmother to us all, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away from complications of cancer, adding, fuck cancer, fuck 2020. I don't know. I cried a lot. I sobbed through bedtime. Zachary was a little scared. I was like, I'm so sorry. Sometimes you just have to be sad, and I'll be better in the morning. But yeah, I think it added a whole new level for me of just terrifyingness to the race. That was already terrifying. How's everybody else doing? Please feel free to unmute yourselves and chime in. Yeah, very much the same.
I've got
Today was the first day I haven't actually just like spontaneously cried. So I think that's progress. I've regained composure over my emotions. So that's, moving through the stages of grief, I suppose.
When I went into my office today, for my birthday this year, my boss had given me a birthday card with RBG's face on the front that said, "Happy birthday, I hope you live forever." That sucked to see.
But what a great card.
It was a great card. I also, Kayla, I think, who sent me this? Was it Kayla? Was it one of you?
It wasn't me.
RBG Wisdom.
That's lovely, though. What is that?
It's just, a little quote book. My family was very kind about it, and so everybody was very nice though about it. And then my mom sent me an article that she had, she gets like the NBC News Digests or whatever those news digests that come in, and one of the articles was top 20 or 20 great RBG quotes, and she was like, "I didn't read this, but I thought you might want to."
I find that very confusing. Like, are people not down with equality? I mean, I'm not saying that people need to agree with every decision she ever made, but like, she kind of stands for equal rights.
Yeah, but they don't know that because they don't watch news that tells them that.
That is wild.
It is wild. It is wild. And I'm sure we'll do a deeper dive on RBG stuff, like her legacy and whatnot, tomorrow for the regular show. Because that probably won't be as, broad topics or not. But there was a list that went around today, and I did want to send this to my mom, and maybe I still will, but it actually listed, thanks to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a woman today may, I can't see, you guys know that I'm blind, maintain a credit card in her own name without a required male signatory, secure a mortgage without being married, and without having a male co-sign for her, serve on a jury, be admitted to a state-funded military academy, obtain health insurance and other benefits for her military dependents. And it's just her career was, I think a lot of times the right makes everything come down to where a judge would fall on Roe v. Wade, which is also kind of crazy because I didn't realize, and Brian, maybe you probably learned this in law school, the justices where they fell on the actual decision of Roe v. Wade were like 3 Nixon appointees or something were pro.
The court was largely Republican when that was decided. And let me first say hi.
Hi.
To the community.
Hi.
Hi to the other people. I'm spiritually, mentally, physically exhausted, and I just needed a few minutes of seeing my friends to put a little juice in the battery. And that the literally right now, I'm scared that our republic hangs in the balance, because if you saw what Attorney General Barr did today, he designated 3 U.S. cities as anarchy zones.
You're living in one, Amanda.
Yeah, including Amanda, you live in an anarchy zone, so you should ask for a reduction in your rent.
That's
property
good.
value should.
That would explain all the sirens and flashing lights that were down my street earlier today when I was going for my evening commute.
Yeah, so I really fear if with Barr and Trump, if Trump has 4 more years in what they're doing, the next step is to legislate that if you protest, you can be designated a terrorist. So, we need to figure out where we're all going to go. So I just wanted to say hi and say hi to my friends and my broads. And it's a really scary time. And at some point, Colleen, I think that we should have a support group for people whose families we've struggled to convince them of how insane they are, and they don't listen to us. And I go through that too.
The only person I've gotten to come over is my aunt. That's it. Just one. Nobody else. Nobody takes me seriously.
Well, I've got my mom and my dad are pretty firmly with me, but I have other members of my family that have went so far out the rabbit hole that it's just, I don't know. I can't talk to them. They don't listen, and they say all the stuff. And so, I think we all have to find our little piece of earth and the little thing we can fight for, and fight for that, and hope that in 50 days it'll be over. And if not, then it'll be over in a different way.
Right.
And I think
Either
that
way, it'll be over. So,
God.
while I have you here, and anybody else, please feel free to chime in. I think what the average American who doesn't pay attention to why the Supreme Court is so important doesn't realize that you could have a Democrat president or Democrat super duper majority in Congress, and the will of the people of things that they actually want to be legislature could come true, and we can make reforms in the country that we genuinely desperately need to make, for climate change and other such things. And if it goes up to a court with a 6-3 conservative majority, all of those things get invalidated.
Right. Well, yeah.
Because is that called legislating from the bench, Brian? Where
that's what
courts are used.
They call it judicial activism.
Okay,
that's what the right wing calls it. That they say you're subverting the will of the people by legislating from the bench, but it's called being an activist judge.
Okay, thank you.
What you'll hear them say.
I couldn't quite remember the term. Well, just like one of the potential nominees, what's her name? In Florida, was installed last year, and she was the one responsible for overturning 2 of the ballot measures that people in Florida voted. A majority of them voted to pass, and she sided, with the challengers to it, which now the poll tax for convicted felons in Florida, and what was the other one? I've absorbed so much.
Raising minimum wage.
Thank you. I've absorbed so much information over the last 3 days that it is hard to keep track of them.
Yeah, I was kind of binge listening to stuff to prepare for tonight. And yeah, it's all a big jumble in my brain too.
Same here. So, but yes, that's it. It was the minimum wage thing where she sided with the, people that were protesting it, which against the will of what the actual people voted for. So it's kind of frustrating if you think about it that way. Because that wasn't something that was even, like sketchy language that could be argued. That was just straight up like the voters wanted this, and the people that be didn't want it. So, Ro, you have been very quiet tonight. How are you doing?
I'm fine, just listening in and feeling sad and worried like everybody else.
Cool.
It's true. I think, at least for myself, I think it's still very raw, and there's so much that is uncertain. It's like I personally still feel like I'm in this space of like gathering information, and the more information I gather, the more terrified I am, and it just makes it almost harder to formulate my thinking.
Mm-hmm. I'm stumbling through thoughts right now, and I generally don't. So.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, and I think the thing I keep coming back to is like I was already so very stressed out about what the next 2 months was going to bring, and this just ups the ante in a way that like I can't even completely wrap my brain around yet.
Yeah. I was very scared about the future for us before. And when this happened, it was like, I might need to get my affairs in order. Like,
that's right.
Like, this, yeah. We all watched The Handmaid's Tale. Like, we've seen how these things start. We also studied history a little bit in our American schools. It's not looking good, and it's crazy, and a lot of people have said this online. So it's, not like my original thought, but the fact that so much is riding on the life of this one woman, I think really shows just how broken the system is.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good point. Very good point.
Brian, I have to say it's so good to see you here, just to connect with people that we don't see all the time. I love seeing everybody. But, maybe you have some insight into, like, when is enough enough? How far can this go? I'm so, like, overwhelmed that I don't even know what to read and when to read and what's true. Can they really get a new Supreme Court justice in there?
Yeah.
Election?
Yes.
How?
They really can. And the short answer is this, is that they did what they always do, and that is they played a game with Obama where they said something and lied. And Obama was entitled, any president is entitled to have their nominee heard and at least get a vote. They chose not to do that. Trump is entitled to do it. But by the way they've done it, it's so norm shattering after what they said and did in 2016 and 2018 that what I fear is the damage this will do. I think I saw a tweet from a senator, I think it was Chris Murphy, or maybe a representative. Chris Murphy said, if this is what it's going to be, all bets are off. And when
they will say that,
if everything is just going to be the naked use of power for power's sake, it's going to be a bad place, because what are we going to do? We can pass a law and pack the court. I think the maximum under law is 13. The Supreme Court can go as high as 13. If we do
current
that,
law,
what do they retaliate with? Like what we're in basically is like a nuclear buildup. And it's on its way to an Armageddon, because Mitch McConnell will do anything. He doesn't care. And I can tell you, he has always been where the Republicans have always outfoxed the Democrats is they've always had their eyes on the court, always. And Democrats don't think that way. And I'm going to say something unpopular because I love Bernie. But, man, I've seen some just terrible takes by Bernie's people about you didn't give us the nominee we wanted this time. You didn't give it to him last time. So what happens, happens. I get that you don't get who you want, but the Supreme Court is too important for a protest vote. I mean, we're in a place now that if you don't like Joe Biden, you don't like the middle, it's too important to not vote against this man and the danger he represents. And, you know, if you want to burn it down, you're on the verge of burning it down, and you'll help burn it down. And we're in real danger, because here's the real danger, and you all know this, is there's nothing Trump won't do that Pence won't do either. If something happens to Trump, Pence is just as conservative. Pence would love to get rid of Roe v. Wade. If Trump fell over tomorrow, Pence would pick up this agenda, and he'd be a lot less controversial doing it, because he wouldn't do a lot of the dumb things Trump does.
And effective. He would be more effective. He's dangerous.
Yeah. Well, he would be more effective because he wouldn't be tweeting dumb shit that isn't like actually enforceable.
Exactly.
The current law could go up to 13, right? There's no actual constitutional, it's just statutory, correct?
Well, it's set by federal law that they choose, and the federal law says right now 13's the cap. Okay. Now, you know, again, who says there couldn't be a federal law that raises it to 17 if the Republicans get in? I mean, the most humorous take I've seen on it is a law school friend of mine said, at this rate, maybe we'll have a chance to be on. Maybe people that didn't go to the Ivy League will have a chance to get on the Supreme Court. It's raising the numbers, just to find some humor. But yeah, I mean, like the real fear, and it's hard to process because most people don't think this deeply. But you know, the loss of civil liberties, what it's going to mean, criminal defendants. You know, it's a real, everybody in my circle of friends who has a lot of criminal defense lawyers, we're all terrified of what could happen if this court goes 6-3 conservative. I mean, in addition to abortion, you talk about the advances we've made on the death penalty. The death penalty ain't going away if we have a 6-3 conservative Supreme Court.
And the Affordable Care Act will go away.
Exactly.
Oh, most certainly.
And the thing that kills me is the battles that are picked. Overwhelming, like over 70% of Americans are fine with leaving Roe v. Wade in place. Right? Is that the statistic? It's like a very overwhelming amount of people in this country. So it's just an ideological battle to pick, where the majority of Republicans are, because they're not the base, not the people in the crazy base, are fine with leaving. And by majority, I mean more than 50% of those polled are fine with leaving abortion as legal. So it's just insane that we're so focused on, and the Affordable Care Act is very popular, and there are so many people in the MAGA base who probably have benefited
100%.
incredibly from the pre-existing conditions and you know, the end of the lifetime maximums and whatnot. Like the things, like, yes, the Affordable Care Act has some issues, but like, wouldn't it be great if we could focus on fixing those issues instead of wasting time in court, in arguing over courts just to get rid of it? Like, you kill the individual mandate, like.
Right. It's like we could have fixed all of its problems by now if like we just.
And not to mention,
also going after it in the middle of a global pandemic seems a little bit dumb, but maybe that's just me.
Well, it's not about actuality; it's about ideology.
Yeah,
right. And it's
can
not.
I address something Judy brought up in the chat?
Oh,
and then
sorry.
I'll shut up because I feel like I've been talking too much.
No. We love you.
No, we love when you talk, Brian.
You. Oh my God, Curtis Flowers. We never talked about.
Sorry. Knowledge.
With you.
Well, Judy raised that they want to raise sedition for protesters that become rioters and looters. And that's one of the things that's really dangerous. I mean, if you could imagine, I mean, not all police officers are bad, but there are bad police officers. And if a Black Lives Matter protest happened and a store got burned, can you imagine somebody who was there with people who did that being charged ever getting a fair trial?
Right.
After they're charged with basically committing treason against this country, what jury's going to give somebody a fair trial when they hear that person, is charged with treason? That's the steps. As dangerous as Trump is, Bill Barr makes him far more dangerous, and Bill Barr will do anything. And if you do any research on Bill Barr, he will scare the hell out of you.
Mm-hmm. And his dad, that's a fun rabbit hole too. His dad was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and he is the guy that originally hired him to teach at his prep school. And Jeffrey Epstein's castle on his island is based on the alien sex castle that Bill Barr's dad wrote about in his novels. So it's a fun dive. Also scary.
Pretty interesting stuff. And
that's one word for it.
His path is straight through the halls of power all the way to where he is. And he is a big fan of the corporate wealthy people telling the rest of the world how to live. And, so it's pretty scary stuff. But I'll finish up with this. Curtis Flowers, done, over, yay.
Yay.
Yes, you need to come on the actual show and talk to us, because we completely forgot about that.
Well, you asked me, and the day that you're going to do it, I had a bad day anyway, but I'll come on sometime soon and we'll talk about it. But I'm going to creep in the back and let other people talk, but it's just really good to see you all and have somebody to process these thoughts with and talk about, because, anybody that needs a ride to the polls, anybody that we need to get out, we've got to stop this, because, I'm scared for my kids. First time in my life, I've actually thought about where will I go if, I can't go anywhere because of my job.
Right.
But when the time comes, if my son's living in an autocratic place, I won't let him stay here, and I won't stay here. And I would have never imagined that in my lifetime.
Are you concerned that they will try to ram a nominee through before the election in order to, because Trump is going to contest the election no matter what. I mean, he could probably win, and because he's lost the popular vote, still sue himself or something. He's that stupid. Are you worried that we're going to have another Bush v. Gore and it's not going to end well as well?
I think that their goal will be to get it done by Election Day, because there's a chance he could lose.
Okay.
And Mitch McConnell.
You don't think they'll try to lame duck it?
I think if they have to, they will.
Okay.
I mean, but I think they'll try to get it done by Election Day so they can say it's completely legitimate. And I think by pushing it through, I think the politics of this hurts the Republicans a little bit.
It does.
But Mitch McConnell he would sacrifice Donald Trump for the court. If you look at his career, he's always been focused on the court.
Yeah.
The secret thing that's been happening for the last 3 years is they've rammed through hundreds of federal judges in record time.
Including ones that had no experience, that were not rated good judges.
They were just young.
Yeah. So it's scary.
Yeah, and if we lose the Supreme Court, the federal courts in most places are already stacked against, the kind of laws that we would all want to see enacted. If you lose the Supremes too, it's
game over. Game over, man.
Yeah. Game over, man. Game over.
Well, okay. Well, let's talk about the politics of this all, and please, somebody, please feel free to chime in. I know that, 2016, a lot of people on the right were galvanized by the Scalia replacement and went out to vote because they really wanted their conservative justices. And was one of my first fears on Friday night. I was like, fuck, the people that are like tired of the pandemic and we're going to vote for Biden might go back to Trump now. And then, as the next couple of days unfolded, and Act Blue raised $100 million over the weekend, which is kind of insane. And I saw this really great tweet, and it was like, I think that this really solidifies Trump losing suburban women, because they might not have gone out for Joe, but they will show up for Ruth. And I did get a bumper sticker, the one I showed you guys on Etsy, that said, Biden, do it for Ruth. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that now people who might have stayed home, or women who were undecided, there's only 11%. The polling has not changed since the spring. So I don't think that this moves the needle either way on people who were already going to vote the way they were going to vote. But I do think it might push some of the people who were on the fence and undecided into the Biden camp. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
I certainly hope so.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Same. It's like, I think about what that James Baldwin quote. It's like, I have to be an optimist because I'm alive. So I feel like I'm kind of living in that space right now, just because the alternative is like far too terrifying. So I think I have to hold out some kind of hope that, like, if that much money is being raised that quickly, that there are people that are motivated in a way that maybe they weren't 5 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, period, end of sentence. I think I'm going to leave it there and just try and stay positive and optimistic about it.
I think that this is actually when it does become more important for us, especially like us as young women, to talk to some of the other like women of our age group that we know, and let them know just what is at stake. Let them know that it's, it's a big deal now. Like, it was a big deal before, but it's like a really big deal now. And I was talking to somebody that I went to high school with, who I always thought was very conservative, and she told me that on Saturday night that she is actually going to vote for Joe Biden now because of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death, which is also crazy.
What changed it for her, though?
She'd done a lot of reading over the day, and really admired and respected the work that she had been doing. And I did not ask her if she was planning on voting for Trump before it. Like, the conversation didn't go that way. And I have seen that her posts have been a little more like liberal and open-minded since the pandemic started. So I wonder if, knowledge is power in that case. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe this will sound crazy, but I mean, I honestly, like, I agree that it's important to talk to people about this. I don't know anyone who's planning on, except for maybe one person virtually, I don't know anyone who's planning on voting for Trump. So
good for you.
Literally. Maybe it's because of where I live.
I want your life.
The company that I keep, but I just, like, I don't know if your voting record means that you don't see me as a full human person, then I just can't really be friends with you.
Can we, like, Freaky Friday change places and lives for like one day?
I was gonna say that, but I was afraid it would be a match what she said. If I said, Shandy, can I Freaky Friday with you?
Matt takes these off. We don't.
Yeah, no, yeah. This is too somber an occasion for such shenanigans.
Matt, you've been quiet. Thoughts? He's like, nope. World is over.
Right. I'm with Amanda. I feel like I'm way too. I can't not try to be positive about it, because if I am not positive about it, I'll just go into a deep dark depression and not get out of it. So I just have to, like, stay positive.
I told them how I made Zach scared on Friday night, just sobbing.
Yeah, like me in crisis, just like, it's fine, we're gonna be okay, it's gonna be fine. Where, I wish I was Colleen sometimes, like, be able to just, like, feel the emotions and, like, cry and let it out, and I just don't function that way. I just cry in Pixar movies.
This is true.
But
I was so sad on Friday, you know, with like the rest of the world. On Friday, sorry. And on Saturday morning, I woke up just like super like ready to take on the world, happy. And then I remembered the day before. It was like one of those like, wah, wah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maggie, you went to the Supreme Court Memorial, right? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. My mom was, which actually, like, Colleen, kind of coming from my mom wanted to go. My mom's the one that suggested it. My parents' nickname when I was in high school, my friends called them, my parents, the Republicans. And my mother has come a very long way. My father, I'm not 100% sure. I can't tell if he likes to argue with me about politics and I don't like to argue. So, but yeah, she was like, Saturday, she's like, do you want to go with me to the Supreme Court? And I was like, yes. I'm like, part of it makes me super nervous, but we're going to do it anyway. And honestly, like up close by, everybody was wearing a mask. There is so much stuff that is there. I mean, the pictures don't even do it justice. All of the signs, all of the artwork, all of the kids. There were so many kids. One of the pictures I took a picture of one picture of a little girl drew, like, and I think we were there and like we commented on, we're like, oh, look at that picture. And the little girl was standing there. And so, you know, we were just like, oh, that's such a great drawing, you know?
Yeah.
And my mom went out to vote, cause that's always been one of her things. But like, it was really cool and really just kind of overwhelming. I mean, there was, you know, the kids' books around. There were just so many kids, and just kind of people of all kinds, and but like not everybody wearing masks, and that's something my mom, you know, my mom was like, we're like, oh, everybody was wearing a mask, you know, close to the Supreme Court. Once you like walked a bit away, you know, even I had to take it off for a minute because it got hot walking around. Yeah. You know, a little bit, but once you were away from people, it was a little better, but for just a second. So, and then put it back on, but it was really cool.
That is cool. I know she's going to lay in state on Wednesday and Thursday. I kind of wanted to go up there and pay respects, but realistically, that's probably not something that's in my
Yeah. I'll watch the kids.
Oh my God, thank you so much for your permission. I'm just kidding. I love you.
I got you. We know what. We'll go. We'll all. You've been wanting to stay in a hotel.
Oh my God! I just want to go somewhere. I keep lobbying my family every weekend. I'm like, fam, let's go stay at like the Hilton down the street. Let's just do it. Like, I just don't want to be in my house anymore. I'm so tired of being in my house.
And that's when I go like, no, that's not a good idea.
Try that with only 2 rooms.
Right? It's like,
come at me when you don't have a whole house.
That's true. We just go to another floor if we don't or the deck if we don't want to be around each other. Good times. Maybe. But if anybody is planning on going, let me know. I might tag along. Yeah, what were we just talking about? Oh, the thing. Thank you, Maggie. That's really cool.
Did you guys see the picture of the ghost, the Mitch Ghostbusters one?
I did.
No.
Okay. Maybe, but there's a picture. It's kind of a ghost, and I think it's the Ghostbusters number. I'm not, but it's Mitch, you're going to need it because she's going to haunt you. I might be messing up the wording of what it says, but that was basically the thing. Like, she's going to haunt you, Mitch, because your hypocrisy. And unfortunately, a family friend of my mom's who knows campaigns was saying that the Amy McGrath running against him is not running a very good campaign.
Yes, that's actually, I meant to say that before.
Pointing.
Yes. So basically, just a heads up, Amy McGrath is probably going to lose
So if you really want to do your part to flip the Senate, you need to donate to the campaigns that are close to the Harrison campaign in South Carolina, to the Cunningham campaign here in North Carolina, what's the woman running against Joni Ernst? The one in Iowa. Like there are campaigns that actually have a chance. And unfortunately, the Amy McGrath campaign probably doesn't. And that's just
it's a shame because actually in the primary, it's a shame forgetting blanking on his name.
Yes. Yes.
Charles Booker, he was awesome, and he would have wiped the floor with Mitch.
You think so?
Yes. Yeah, he would have inspired. She's a very centrist, moderate candidate.
And she also said that she would vote with some of Trump's policies, right?
Yes.
Which as soon as I heard that, I was like...
Yeah. They got her because she has a military background and all that. But Charles Booker, he had an initiative, and I think it's on Twitter. You can go find it. He called it From the Hood to the Holler. And it was like he actually went to small Eastern Kentucky towns and marched, and white people came out, and people were shocked that these white people would go march with this black guy going to Eastern Kentucky where there are no black people.
Interesting.
But he was a very inspiring candidate, and I think he has a big future. But also Mark Kelly in Arizona, give to him.
But he's pretty much all but certainly going to win.
I don't take anything for granted, Colleen.
Right, fair enough.
Why do you say it? Why?
I don't know. He's ahead by 10 points.
I mean, the man's been to outer space several times, but you know.
And Trump lives in outer space, so.
What's the West Wing quote? It's you don't the wrath of the curse from the thing. Go out and spit through.
Oh no, she froze! The curse got her!
We'll never know. We'll never know what we need to do.
Oh no! Maggie, you froze! We never heard.
Oh no! So it's a West Wing thing about Toby says something about a superstition, like you don't want to the wrath from atop the thing and go out. You have to go outside and spit 3 times or something.
Fine, I can do that.
You have to go outside, turn around 3 times and spit.
Okay, I can do that.
West Winger too?
Oh yeah.
Another one.
Oh, I think we're finally gonna all do that West Wing podcast that we've been promising for 3 years.
I've only been praying for years now.
We talked about it in the group chat.
Thank goodness.
I know I need to rewatch it too. I need to finish watching it. But yeah, no, we talked about it in our joint, production member group thingy. And yeah, it was funny because I was like, does anybody want to do it? And Jack was like, I've been waiting for 3 years. Yes. So
they're starting to film an episode that they're gonna put on HBO Max in October.
Yes.
They're redoing an episode, and that's gonna be just kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm super excited.
Yes, that's gonna be awesome. Yeah, Jay, remind me that I want to rewatch that.
You tell me all the time. I don't need to remind you. We got to do our Ted Lasso podcast, then we can do that one.
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
Anybody watch Ted Lasso?
It's a fun show.
It's a fun show. It's Jason Sudeikis, and he's the general manager of a football team in some place in the UK. I don't actually know what team. Jay watched the first few episodes without me, so.
No, hold on. Now I need some clarification here. I started watching this show.
We're here to talk about politics, not your politicking of whether or not you are.
Can we get just a quick little? I just wanted to poll the group here. If I'm starting to watch the show on my own, and then Colleen shows up and starts watching it with me, is it then become a couple show that I have to make sure that I can't keep watching now? So now, because I wanted to keep watching, and Colleen's like, "No, I'm doing a show. You can't." I was like, "I was doing it on my own," and now you've basically taken over.
I was like, it's only an hour. It's not like a normal Tuesday night where we're gone for 3 hours.
Yeah, usually, I'm a single, a widower on Tuesday nights. So I try to find things to entertain myself with, and it's it's COVID-19.
Can I propose the answer for you, Jay?
Sure, please.
The answer is, if you watch it, you have to rewatch those episodes with her. So there's
Yeah.
a hybrid.
Yeah, that's what I
Okay,
did.
that's not bad. That's not bad. I don't mind that.
That's what I did for Superstore, which was also a show that you started watching, and then I took over, and then I watched it when you went to sleep a whole bunch of
Every
times.
time.
It's so good.
Yeah, see, I'm actually on the other side of this because I speed through shows without Daniel all the time.
Well, so does Jay, because I generally don't.
I am
That's
scenario.
That's what I would usually do. I would just do it, but now she keeps coming. It's like, oh, this is fun, and she starts watching, and then it's like, well, now you can't watch it without me. I'm like, well, I had such a good flow.
Are you seriously on an episode where we are honoring the life of Ruth Bader Ginsburg not going to be a Marty about this?
I feel like Marty would be on my side on this one.
I feel like Marty would 100% not be on your side with this one.
Listen,
RBG didn't watch TV. Like, this is irrelevant.
She didn't even use email.
RBG didn't have time for TV. She's too busy changing the effing world.
Yeah, exactly.
Have time.
I mean, truly, I'm the Marty in this scenario where, like, it's just like, all right, well, you're changing the rules. I got to do something to kill the time. I'm gonna watch this TV show.
I don't know. You could always be a gourmet chef. Actually, you are the.
Anyways, I'm sorry. Let's get back to politics. Can we get back to politics?
Oh.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was
Well
muted.
done, sir. That was good.
All right. I don't even remember where we left off. All right. What else
All
has
right.
happened?
Moments of brevity are important. We needed to lighten it up. We needed a.
Other things have happened since before Friday.
Like a shit ton of things, and now I literally can't remember any of them. So.
That crazy BuzzFeed article about the banks came out. No? All right. Well, homework
Yeah,
for next
sorry.
time.
What was that about?
So I'm only halfway through because it came out on Sunday and it is really long. But essentially, they got like thousands and thousands of like secret government documents that reveal how like the big banking, like Western banks, they move trillions of dollars in suspicious transactions to like, you know, kind of like funnel it for themselves and their shareholders. And like it allows like terrorists and kleptocrats and drug dealers, like, you know, the drug lords or whatever, and all sorts of like a consortium of like just like really sketchy people, and they get away with it because all they have to do is, it's like a Ponzi scheme or something, but like all they have to do is say that, like, report that there's been like suspicious activity, and that's like literally like meets the standards of, you know, whatever. And like, so like all this stuff gets away. And again, I haven't finished reading it because it is really long, and like, but I can post this link somewhere, or it's all over BuzzFeed News. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. And like Bernie and Warren have already been like, all right, calling for legislation to kind of, you know, stop this from happening. But like, it just shows you just how fucked up the systems really are and how they are in favor of like the bad people, which, you know, ironically are who the QAnon people probably should like be focusing on rather than like made up boogeymen. But like, it's intense. Nobody read it? No one's familiar with it? Cool. Okay.
No,
I read it.
You did. So did you finish it? What am I missing?
Yes. No, but basically that there's a reporting requirement that once you do that, that's all you have to do. And so basically they report it, but there isn't enough. Imagine this. There isn't enough oversight to deal with the reporting and the people to investigate it. And so they just say, this looks suspicious, we're just passing it on, but they keep the money and the transaction goes through. And it moves from bank to bank to bank in different places with different laws and different rules. And it's basically a shell game where they move money from one place to another. And it probably the best analogy to it is if you've ever been to a pawn shop. Pawn shops are like the most corrupt place in the world. Like you go in and they make you sign something to promise you didn't steal the thing you're selling them.
Yeah.
Right. and then they're absolved that they're not receiving stolen property when you know they are. But they go, oh, well, somebody signed and gave me their ID. So the drug user goes in with an ID, gives the weed eater for $10. They sell it for 50 and say, well, here's the thing where he promised me it wasn't stolen, right?
Yeah.
So it's the way that the person who benefits the most from the illegal transaction gets a way out.
Yep.
And imagine that being a big bank. Shocker.
Shocking.
All of this sounds so completely implausible. Like, what do you guys mean? How could such things be true in America?
Speaking of America, Brian, I believe, was it you who showed me, and I think now it's like broken on the news, that a state of emergency was declared for the district where Breonna Taylor lived?
The city of Louisville put out a notice, and it leaked to the press that all their police officers can't take vacation. Any non-process requests for vacation have been denied for the next 10 days. They're declaring a state of emergency. And according to what I'm hearing, the parking meters are being covered with coverings that say no parking. And the courthouse is closed all this week, and places are being boarded up. So I think we all know what that probably means.
That they're not going to arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor.
That Mitch McConnell's protege, Daniel Cameron, is probably going to say there aren't going to be charges brought.
So who is Daniel Cameron? Is he the state attorney general?
Yes, okay. He's the attorney general.
Awesome.
It's like, just the fact that all this preparation is happening, it's like, do you have any thought in your mind that like what you're doing is wrong? Like if you know that what you are doing is going to potentially elicit that strong of a reaction out of the public, like, doesn't that give you any kind of pause? Like, how are people so void of morals? Like, I can't.
I don't know.
I cannot.
That's the problem, though. Like, that's what this comes down to, really, is that we can disagree amongst ourselves, and we do on a number of things, but I think that we all kind of have a moral compass guiding us. And I'm not saying that all Republicans don't have a moral compass, but I'm saying that there's a shit ton of them that really don't anymore. And or it's on very select few things. And so how do you argue with that? How do you debate with that? How do you compromise with that? How do you move forward with that? Like, how does Mitch McConnell look at himself in the mirror? I don't know. Like, any of these clowns, I truly don't know. Mm-hmm. But what do you do?
Exactly. Like, what do you do when you're the person? And I hate to use the word working with, because we're just so beyond that even being in the realm of possibility. Yeah. But it's like, how are you supposed to try and work with someone when they just aren't playing by the same like book of rules? Like, it's not about the betterment of society. It's not about the betterment of humanity. It's not about the simple fact of just doing what's freaking right. Yeah. It's about power and maintaining that power for a select few. Yes. And it's like, I just don't understand. I just don't understand that type of thinking.
Right. And the biggest like gaslighting and manipulation of all is that they claim to be the moral majority. Like they claim Christianity as their own. And it's just that for me is the part that makes me want to pull my hair out, because I've said it before. Like, on the one hand, if you're going to be a piece of shit and just like do things for power and just be a terrible human being, on the one hand, if you would just admit that, I could almost be okay with it. But if you're going to like try to convince everyone that you're actually acting in love, then no, like, fuck you.
Yeah. At least have the balls to say you're
seriously.
If to speak your convictions to power.
No, if any of these clowns got up tomorrow on TV and was like, I realize that I'm a hypocritical piece of shit, but I'm going to do this anyway.
Actually, there have been some senators or elected officials who have actually come out and been like, look, I was for I was for holding the seat in 2016 because I didn't want Obama's person on there. But I want Roe v. Wade overturned. And Trump is going to appoint a judge that does it. So I'll be open about it. I want one. That's why I want one. And I was like, I guess, power to that, respect to that. Like, at least you're just straight up, like, being honest about it. That's a lot more refreshing than trying to, like, twist and talk in knots. Like, well, when the one party is in power, and then you got the two branches, and the this and the that, and I mean, and then A plus G equals 12. So, like...
So there you have it,
Right.
It is.
Go home.
It is oddly refreshing. They need to also add, the other piece of it that they need to add for me to be happy about, not happy, for me to like truly accept this, is that they need to add that they're pieces of shit. They have to admit that. that is a key component here.
I think that,
and then I'd be like, okay, at least you're honest.
It's the only way I get on board. Because even like Colleen, you sharing the story about people being honest, I'm like, that doesn't make me feel any better. That just
it doesn't make me feel better.
Now it's a red hot rage as opposed to a white hot rage. I'm still angry.
Actually, you know what though?
I still don't like it. I still don't like how it makes me feel.
That does make me feel better. Do you know why that makes me feel better? Because then you take those sound bites, you take those tweets, and you plaster them all over ads, and the majority of Americans that are perfectly fine with Roe v. Wade standing as it is today, they're going to see those, and you make those into the headlines, and then they'll understand why it's so fucking important that the Supreme Court goes and go to a 6-3 of the minority party being in the majority rule.
Yeah.
Well,
So, yeah,
here's the real thing. To me, I mean, this is going to sound terrible, and I want it to sound terrible. I'm glad I have a son and not a daughter. Because if Roe v. Wade gets overturned, what they're really saying is, if your daughter's raped, tough shit, that baby's being born. And the I don't care what a Republican says, if that reality came home, that is 99% unacceptable to the American public. And that's what we're facing. And if you really want to get scared, read up on Amy Coney Barrett.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, she's nuts too.
Nope.
I know we only talked about the other one.
I want to say her name is like Loaiza or
Lohada.
It's something like that.
Barbara's her first name.
Okay, hold on.
But I don't remember her last name.
Lagoa.
Something?
Lagoa. Lagoa.
Yeah, that's right. And my political inclination is to believe that's the way Trump will go, that they pushed Barrett out front to look worse than Lagoa.
Yeah.
Because that's what he did with Gorsuch. He put other people up that were more prominent, and then Gorsuch got the nod. I think, he's getting advice. He's not doing any of this. This is McConnell and Barr that are doing this. I would say that Lagoa will be the pick, but they're putting Barrett out there to excite the base because Barrett is terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She has a opinion where she wrote an essay, correct, where she argued why Brown versus the Board of Education was wrong, was decided incorrectly. I mean, she's that brand of crazy, guys.
She talks about why the Bible is superior to the Constitution, and I mean, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard her described as the judicial Laura Ingraham.
Ugh.
Like, how does someone like that get to be a judge? Like, you're obviously not impartial.
She's one of the people that was appointed by Mitch McConnell packing the courts over the last 4 years. She's only been on the bench for 3 years?
Right. Cheating. That's how these people get to power, cheating.
Well, when they didn't give Garland a hearing, they also held a whole lot of federal judges open and wouldn't vote on those. And when Trump came in and they had their majority, they pushed them through. And that's where we as Democrats and all of us, the shit show that is Trump, we take our eye off the ball in a way Republicans don't sometimes.
Yeah.
And and granted, it's hard to keep up with everything. It's just almost impossible. But we don't have the equivalent of a Mitch McConnell on our side that's been watching the court and tending to it for 30 years the way he has. And he got his shot and he took it. And, Kentucky is just between Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul. All I can say is, I'm sorry, America.
Are there any yard
really
signs?
Got some great representation.
I mean,
God, I'm sorry, Rand Paul's neighbor really was onto something.
Yeah.
That's a little too inside baseball for me. I don't get the joke.
He got into a physical altercation, like a fist fight with his neighbor, like 2 years ago.
He broke his rib.
To be fair, he's got a very punchable face. And then he starts talking, and then it just makes it worse. So, I don't blame the neighbor.
Yeah, I'm not really cool with violence, but in this case, I can make an exception to be on
Nor am
Team
I,
Rand
but every
Paul's
time
neighbor.
I see Rand Paul on TV, I want to punch him. And then he starts talking, and I just feel stronger about my need to punch this person.
As I often say about some of the things my clients do, I don't condone it, but I understand it.
Yeah. Remember that time that we had an impeachment trial and Rand Paul brought the sign that said the name of the whistleblower after he wasn't allowed to? That was something that happened in 2020, and yet it feels like it was so long ago.
Yeah. Just one of those red herrings of the year.
Yeah.
That and murder hornets.
Yes.
Anyway, so as we start to wind down, Amanda, do you want to share your experience with phone banking this weekend?
Yes. So phone banking. Yes. I signed up to do phone banking for the very first time. As an introvert, it was very exhausting. To cap it off with the fact that it was on Friday is when I was doing the phone banking from 6 to 9.
And the news broke at around 7:35, 7:40. So
yeah. So we were wrapping it up. So I suppose I'll end with that and I'll work my way to the happier parts. But so we all kind of ended up wrapping up a little early. Actually, let me set it up. So it's like the way this particular phone bank worked, it was through like a local Democrats association here in Brooklyn, and they did it through Zoom. So like you logged into Zoom and there was like a team leader that kind of walked you through the process and like how it all works, because the phone bank itself is sort of done through a computer system. So we sort of got set up on the Zoom, and then we kind of silenced the Zoom and like went into the computer system and like did our phone calling. And then they would have us like check in every like 45 minutes just to see how people were doing, if anyone had any questions. And so like we wrapped up the night a little early and kind of resumed to the Zoom call just because of, what happened with RBG and sort of talking through and how that really kind of changed the tone of the phone calls. And I think it's like the thing that really stuck with me the most is, a lot of these people were clearly part of this club and they all knew each other and like they kind of had more of a friendly relationship with one another. But one of the women that I think was part of this group, like came on and like, we're all like, oh, and then it's like, the news came out and just kind of changed the conversation. She's like, oh, what news? What happened? And you just kind of, everybody goes quiet because clearly she doesn't know and no one wants to literally be the bearer of bad news. And so one of the like team leaders sort of, let her know, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, it was just announced she'd passed away. And this woman, like, it's very uncomfortable to watch people you don't know get emotional. Like this poor woman, like her face absolutely collapsed. And it was just, it was really hard. I was already like really kind of emotionally spent. And I think that really put the nail in it for me. But on a positive note, to dial it back, it was a very cool experience. We were calling the state of Georgia, and it was kind of really easy. Like we were literally just calling to be like, "Hey, are you voting Democrats? Great. Do you want to sign up to be a volunteer?" And like that's what we were doing. So it seemed pretty, easy on its head, but it's like you're sort of doing it through this computer system and they kind of give you a script. And so you like ask questions and like, as someone's answering, you kind of click something and it leads you to the next thing you're supposed to say. So it took me kind of a few to get it right. Like there was definitely, I had one Trump supporter and I had sort of clicked the way she was answering the questions. I kind of clicked through in a way where she was like, I like Trump. But I was like, I don't have a button for that. I don't know how to respond to you.
I feel like that should be the response in general, like out there in the world. Like, what, you're voting for Trump? I don't have a button for that. I don't know how to respond to you.
I have gone past the points of the script where you were supposed to have a Trump response. But it was a real grab bag of things. I got a lot of people that like, you're calling looking for a specific person and you're supposed to hang up if you don't get that person. You're supposed to say like, oh, we'll call back. And I had a lot of people that were just so eager to talk that they just kept talking to me anyway. Yeah. I signed up one person to volunteer that wasn't the person I was actually calling. It was like her husband. He's like, oh yeah, we'll both sign up.
That's awesome. Because we're in a pandemic and everybody wants to make a change. I think that it's more energetic this time around.
Exactly. I talked to this really sweet old lady that she had a very, very thick accent. So I missed a fair amount of what she was saying, just like through the phone connection. But I'm fairly certain she's either a cancer survivor or is currently battling. She's like, oh yeah, I've like left chemo just to go straight to the polls, and I've brought friends with me, and like we're voting, everybody's voting. I'm bringing my neighbors, and I'm like, you are amazing. But I think by far my favorite interaction of the evening, I talked to this one gentleman who was undecided but leaning Democratic, and he's like, look, I'll be straight up with you. He's like, I haven't really been paying attention the way I should. It's like, as far as I'm concerned, like there, my vote is theirs to lose, but it's like I haven't really been paying attention. I don't really know what Joe Biden's about. And it was just like such a reminder that like there are so many people in this country that aren't as plugged in as we all are. Like, I live in this unique reality all into myself where I feel guilty if I am not overly plugged in. Like if I miss a headline for the day, I feel like I'm being a bad American, that like, oh my God, I'm not doing it right if I don't know everything that's going on in politics. And it was like a really good reminder that like a lot of the country just doesn't think like that.
Yeah. When I went, I had met up with two geocaching friends, and one of them, we were talking at the end, and she was like, somebody that I work with keeps insisting that the virus is going to go away like the day after the election. Do you guys know why? And the other woman that I was with, we just looked at her and we were like, do you have a minute?
Yeah. But it was like, but it was ultimately like this one interaction. It sort of made the whole night worth it to me. Cause he's like, honestly, like talking to you, he's like, yeah, I recognize that like, I need to get activated now. He's like, I just know that like something needs to change and like, we can't keep doing what we're doing, but like, I don't know that much about Biden. And I was like, well, I'm like, to be honest, like tonight's my very first night doing any kind of volunteering like this. And, I'm doing it much for the same reason, because I feel as though where the country is right now is not sustainable and like things need to change. And I couldn't sit by without, doing my part in whatever small means it was. And it's like, we just sort of kept kind of talking closer and closer to each other. And it's just like, I actually felt like, oh, if I walk away today and the only thing I did was like that guy went and did a little Googling, like I felt really good about that.
Then that's the whole point of what you're doing. So that's awesome. Right. Crooked Media had does polling each week, and their poll that they got the results for and like reported on them on Thursday was that they tested a bunch of messages with undecided voters in swing states, and they asked police, what do you know about Trump? What do you know about Biden? And the Trump stuff was actually surprisingly the Bob Woodward book and the military thing where he's calling them losers and dopes, which happened and we didn't even talk about it, and I can't even believe it. That was another
that was the other thing.
thing.
That was the other thing.
Both of those things. And the most common thing that the people who were polled said went to the answer to the question, what do you know about Joe Biden, was nothing.
Just crazy.
Which is crazy, but I guess that
he was the vice president.
He was the vice
years.
president for 8 years.
Like you could, Uncle Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, they never saw an Obama Joe friendship meme. Those are the best.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed them.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, speaking of crooked media, they have their Vote Save America program, which is what they've got, the Get Mitch or Die Trying fund, that raised over $16 million over the weekend.
That's insane.
Which is just incredible. But Jay and I don't know if you ever did it, Jay, but I signed up. They have an Adopt a State program where you can sign up to adopt a swing state, and then on each state's page, they have opportunities. So you type in your zip code and they'll give you opportunities in your area of what a campaign might need, whether it's a Senate campaign or the presidential campaign. And you can, go in and do that. And I had started to do stuff like that back in freaking June and kind of fell off it. I don't know, over the last 3 months. So that's my bad. But Amanda, you inspired me over the weekend to go back on the site and look for opportunities to help, because I adopted North Carolina since, I feel like it was important living here and such. But yeah, if you are looking for something, that's a very easy place to go and get some direction on opportunities that you have. And of course, you can always contact, I'm sure there's a Facebook page or something for any local officials that you might be interested in, helping their campaign. People, Board of Education, in Wake County, it's a really important race, the Board of Education race. And just today started looking at the candidates, because I know that that's going to be really important, especially right now during a pandemic when our children are all learning from home. So, but I'm sure, everybody's got a Facebook page or a campaign page, and it's easy to reach out to be like, hey, can I write some postcards for you? And I mean, obviously that's totally my jam. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Judy said, Mandy Patinkin has been pushing We Vote Forward, FWD.org/big send. And I will post that in the show notes as well. It sends letters to people in places that it would be useful to get out the vote. That's awesome. That's awesome. Great. So, that's great. Check that out. Check opportunities. We're in the home stretch, less than 50 days. It's going to be crazy because we haven't even hit October yet, and who knows what is going to happen in October.
Oh, God. It's just, I can't.
I know.
Yeah, wake me up in December. Actually, no. Wake me up on the first day of early voting in New York, and then let me be until December.
Also on the Vote Save America page, it actually has all the information for your specific state on how to vote, where you can vote, what early voting looks like, if you have universal mail-in ballots or just absentee ballots, and that might be a little too late to request for some people, but it is good if you don't know what to do. I think Jay and I are going to do early voting in person is what we decided on.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm leaning towards as well.
So, cool. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it a lot. The next time that we were scheduled to do one of these is Monday, October 5th. And that one is going to have to start at 10 p.m. If for some reason I'm running late or something, God forbid, I guess we could even always just push it back into Tuesday and do the broadcast, just not have a new broadcast that week or something. But yeah, sorry about that. All right. Judy, do you want to say that on the thing? They're talking about the Princess Bride reunion and the money that they raised for Wisconsin Democrats.
Yeah, they raised, I can't remember what it was. I mean, it was a huge number because they had 100,000 people participate in the Princess Bride reading, and the suggested donation was $27. So they raised millions. And then they followed it up with a Parks and Rec reunion, which they also raised quite a bit off from.
Yeah.
The Wisconsin Democrats have been really pushing hard because they say there's no way Trump can win electorally if he doesn't win Wisconsin. So Wisconsin is a major battleground state and is so important. So they are really mobilizing and they're really fundraising.
Okay. Yeah.
Josh Molina and Rishi Hirway also did a thing for Wisdoms where they interviewed Janelle Maloney and Bradley Whitford. That was, I think, the first one. And they raised a ton of money for that, too. I donated twice for that one because I was like, we got to do this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I saw on Twitter that Joe Biden is running ads in Iowa, so he must think that Iowa is in play. So that's crazy. All right, on that note, thank you guys again for coming out. Thank you for listening at home. We appreciate it. We hope that you will join us on October 5th for the next one of these. Thank you to the patrons, of course, and especially the ones that contribute a certain level, and that would be Tack from Tokyo, Eckhart Richter, Maggie, the Magnificent, Joanne with a Plan. And the present. Greg the Gray, and Ed the Creepy Mailman. Thank you guys. I don't know. I always get flustered when I'm looking at the person I'm thanking for these things. I do it to poor Greg. How many times have I forgotten to say Greg's name while staring at him? I'm the worst. Anyway, okay, thanks guys so much. And let's get out there and do this for the glorious RBG.
You're here.
All right. Peace out, everybody. Oh, my name is Colleen.
My name is Amanda.
And I'm Shandy.
Peace out, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.